Hello and welcome to the PHNX D-backs podcast right here on PHNX. My name is Derek Montilla, officially known as the mayor of PHNX. Shout out to Saul Bookman for finally coming on board last night during the PHNX Sun Show.
Wow, I didn't hear about that.
I got Saul on board. Saul anointed me now, so Jesse, no one can touch me when it comes to this mayor thing. Once again, I am the mayor of PHNX because I want to be liked by everybody so much all the time that walking around with me is like I am running for the mayor of nothing. So this show is brought to you by the fine folks over at the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use our code of PHNX, and simply for betting $1 on any NBA or any NFL team to score anything in their game, you will get $100 in free bets instantly should they do so. And of course, I'm joined by my one and only vice mayor, the Thunderstick, Jesse Friedman. I gave you the Thunderstick this time.
Oh, I appreciate that. Is Saul on board with vice mayor? Do we have a word on that?
You still have some winning over to do, but let me tell you this much. Once you appoint me the mayor, you have given me entirely too much power. I can create positions underneath me. Remember that somehow an employee of DNVR is our comptroller over here at PHNX. So I've already gone crazy with power, Jesse.
That's fair. Well, hey, we got our announcement today, Derek. Brent
Strom. I was scared. I was worried. I told you on Monday. I was sweating a little bit. Tuesday, even more scared. Wednesday came around, no word. I was like, is everybody at the D-backs on vacation? What is going on? But finally today on Thursday, we get official confirmation that Brent Strom is the Arizona Diamondbacks pitching coach. I'm relieved for it to be official, Jesse.
I am too. I mean, this literally took a week, almost a week. I think we're 6 days. The news originally came out last Friday. And now we officially have the announcement. So, yeah, like we said the other day, this was never really speculation. I mean, we literally had Brent Strom himself as of last Friday saying, yes, I am taking the job. So never a big concern, but nonetheless, the fact that it's official is exciting. I know you were able to attend the press conference earlier today and get some quotes from Brent Strom. So yeah, I mean, this is the most exciting thing that has happened to this Diamondbacks organization in probably quite a while.
It is. And the one thing that we have talked about is the assembly of this coaching staff. We're going to talk about a whole other Marvel franchise later in the show. But again, it's like they assembled the Avengers to come together as a coaching staff. All of these different guys with different specialties that they have excelled in different areas. You know, the way that Joe Mather helped the Cincinnati Reds become one of the elite teams hitting in this team offensively in this league, right? Then you have the experience that two guys like Jeff Bannister and Brent Strom bring over. Brent Strom, 11 seasons as the major league pitching coach for the Astros and the Kansas City Royals. From 2018 through 21 this season, the Astros ranked among major league leaders in strikeouts, first overall, quality starts, first overall, ERA, second overall, opponent batting average, second overall, and WHIP, second overall. That's impressive. You can say what you want. The one thing that is a common bond between these three coaches, is humility. Every single one of them does not take the credit for what their team did while they were there. Joe Mather kicked it off by saying he did nothing for the Reds as hitting coach.
Well, let's hope he did something, right?
Right, exactly. Let's hope he did something, right? But he basically made it sound like the guys were already on board with whatever philosophies because they wanted to get better when he arrived. So he felt like the buy-in from the players in Cincinnati was a key. But again, he credited the players several times. Brent Strom, it was more of the same today from him. You know, you're not going to get him saying that he was the big key to this team, even though they had 3 seasons in a row prior to his arrival of losing 100 games. 3 seasons, not just what the Arizona Diamondbacks experienced this season, but 3 seasons of that miserable.
He's been through this before. He knows what it's like to walk into a situation like this. And when he first announced that he was taking the job last week, that was the quote from him that stuck out to you the most. Just how how excited he was for the challenge of coming over to an organization that is in a much, much worse spot than the one that he's coming from. And he's willingly coming over, right? The Astros didn't fire him. In no way did the Astros ask this man to leave. And yet he came over here because he's interested in this challenge. He's interested in trying to take this pitching staff to the next level. And I mean, he seems like the right person for the job, as we've said.
He absolutely does. And by the way, he had two Cy Young Award winners under him in his time at Houston. So again, guiding
Dallas
Houston,
Keuchel and Justin Verlander,
and just
right?
Verlander. Yep. And again, he was there when the Houston had its 5 highest single season strikeout totals. Right. So he said something interesting in today's press conference about the Arizona Diamondbacks being 30th in the league in fastballs high up in the zone. And that was just such a big part of what improved so many pitchers. So it's funny for him not even to be in the job yet, but already assessing the Diamondbacks and finding ways that they kind of lacked behind that I haven't really heard a lot of people talk about. When you hear that, you're like, yeah, the fact that they apparently led the league in fastballs in the zone does not surprise me one bit, with the lack of success this pitching staff had at times. I have been saying about the all-star pitching staff, and that is one thing apparently that the great Torey Lovullo agreed with when it came to my assessment on that. I actually have a clip from today's press conference where Lovullo kind of expanded a little bit on his what his plan was here and how his plan is coming together. Hey, Torey, when you started assembling your coaching staff that you needed to hire, did you foresee it going in this way, that you would be bringing on kind of an all-star caliber coaching staff of this much experience?
It was my desire to have this type of coaching staff built around me. And yes, I was hoping for something like this between he and Jeff Bannister. And there's going to be more hires along our path here that we're going to start to announce here shortly. That's exactly how I was putting it. I wanted all-star coaches around me, guys that were going to make this organization as good as possible, with their teachings, with their content. So yes, I did fantasize about this, and it's coming true, and I'm very grateful for that.
And I mean, I think that it's something that it was speculated that he was going to have a hard time making some of these hires, or finding good coaches for some of these positions. For a second, let's talk about this mustache and how terrible it is, because I just noticed in that video really how awful it looks, and man, I can't wait for November to get out of here so this thing can go. But
hey, you had your PHNX, you had our PHNX t-shirt on, so that made up for it, Derek.
I did. I'm here rooting for the team. But yeah, Jesse, it sounds like all of Lovullo's plans for this coaching staff and their assessment of what they planned on doing with this team as far as coaching up young players from their farm system is starting to come together.
It really is. I mean, I think Torey deep down is probably like a kid in a candy store right now. Like, yes. Oh my gosh, we got Brent Strom and Jeff Bannister and Joe Mather. And, I mean, in the press conference, he's probably not going to, show those kinds of emotions. But I mean, this really is, in my mind, sort of a best case scenario for this team. And frankly, Derek, I feel like, for me, and I'm thinking that some of our audience members can probably relate to this. When your team hires new coaches, it's kind of hard to know how to react in a lot of ways, because there's really never anything bad that comes out, right? Like when the Diamondbacks hired Darnell Coles, it was like, all right, he's been with the Rangers, they've had some success under him. When they brought over Matt Hergis, right? I don't think there was initially this cloud of darkness over the hiring of Matt Hergis, right? It's something that you're normally cautiously optimistic about, but it's usually kind of hard to really care that much, because it kind of always has the same feel. It doesn't really feel like you ever really have a slam dunk, or, you really mess something up. It just kind of is what it is. This is one of few situations, one of few scenarios in the history of this franchise where I really think that this is like a home run in the fullest. I mean, there's a reason that Marcus Stroman immediately upon this hire was like, oh my gosh, the Diamondbacks got Brent Strom. I would love to be able to work with him at some point in my career, right? This is something that other teams are taking notice of. And that's not really always the situation when you're just going about your business, coming off a 52-win season, hiring new coaches, right? That's not the norm. And this is going to be huge for this franchise.
I agree with you 100%, Jesse. So I look forward to that. And I'll have a piece today elaborating a little further. I think even at one point, it's funny you said that because Brent Strom said he felt a bit like a kid in a candy store when it came to looking
really
at this team and the talent that's on it. Again,
there's some fun, like you have, when you look at the Diamondbacks starting rotation, it's devoid of recent performance in some respect. Like Zach Gallen kind of had an off year. Luke Weaver had an off year, but there's some big stuff there. Like we've all seen what Zach Gallen can do. Even Luke Weaver, I feel like for a lot of pitching coaches is really an intriguing guy. There aren't that many guys who can run it up to 96 or 97 with a really, really good changeup. It's kind of a 2-pitch mix right now, but there's a lot to work with there, right? Like these aren't just a bunch of guys who, were drafted late and have kind of always been back end starters. There's a lot more ceiling here than you would probably expect for a 52-win team. And hearing you talk about Brent Strom, it makes sense why he feels that way looking at this pitching staff.
I did ask Strom if the challenge, here looking at a team that had so many remarkable similarities to the Astros team when he joined it, was part of his decision. And he said it really didn't impact it. He said, really, he talked about wanting to, he talked to some people. They were 50% about retirement. 50% of the people he talked to said it's great. 50% said it sucked and that, they hated it. Right. Just the lack of having things to do. And especially when you've been in a world like baseball that consumes so much of your life, it's hard to all of a sudden turn that off. And I think he kind of expressed not wanting to leave it yet. Obviously living in Tucson, Arizona is another big part of it. The one part though, that I find to be probably the most egregious error on every team in MLB's part is he did say that the Arizona Diamondbacks were the only team that called him. And
really,
that I think, or about this kind of role, I think other people were kind of calling him more about, an analytics role or maybe taking something
being an advisor or something.
That might have been the mistake of those teams, just assessing his situation and maybe thinking he didn't want to be in a pitching coach role still at this point in his career, especially when he was contemplating or talking about stepping away. Maybe they were just trying to entice him with a role that suited him a little more, or maybe it would be, hey, this will be a little easier on you. You don't have to travel with the team as much. Apparently the D-backs were the only ones that said, no, we want you for this. And I'm telling you, the one, again, the common theme amongst these three coaches that I heard in all of their press conferences was none of them believe they're walking into a team that's really a 52-win team.
Right. Well, if they did, they probably would have gone somewhere else, right?
Right.
Well, and there's more to work with in other organizations, you would think, right?
Well, that entices you too, right? Because now you can look like, again, an ultimate hero, that you left a franchise that you fixed, which almost all of these guys have done at one point in their career, and now they're able to go do it somewhere else. Obviously, we have a stake in this. We want them to do it, right? But they themselves have a stake in their own legacy of being able to say, look at what I did for the Astros. Look at what I did for the D-backs. Especially, a coach like Joe Mather that still has so much of a career left. I think at this point, for someone like Brent, it's more about still being around baseball and not wanting to leave it yet. Same thing with Jeff. Jeff Bannister I think Bannister has that mentor, kind of thing left in him, that he really still wants to be about around the game and shape young players. The D-backs and a few other franchises really are the perfect franchises for that. Otherwise, you're dealing with high-priced superstars. You're dealing with the pressure and the stress of winning a championship. Right now, all the Arizona Diamondbacks want to do is win a handful more games. Can we Can we get 20 extra wins next season? Can we make this a 72 win team next season? Then that would be a win. That would be a success for this franchise at this point.
What really sticks out to me about all of this, the fact that, you know, Brent Strom lives in Tucson, which I'm sure played some semblance of a role
Of course.
in his
Yeah,
hiring
absolutely.
here, right?
Absolutely.
It's shocking to me, Derek, how often Arizona is actually, like, the fact that the Diamondbacks are in Arizona actually has paid dividends for them.
It's a
which
win.
is not,
It's this weather. People are cowboys. They like to rope cattle. They like to live at their house.
I mean, it's one
Break
thing
this
though
guy.
when it's one thing when your season is in the winter months, right? Like in the
Oh, yeah.
NBA, it's like, okay, yes, you want to be in Phoenix, and then for the summer you can, you know, get out of Dodge and, you know, go lay on a beach somewhere. But that's not
Very
the
much
case
so.
for the baseball season. I mean, you're
Very much
here
so.
for the worst of it.
Yeah.
And then the off season is when it's actually nice outside. So on paper, it doesn't really make sense for being in Phoenix to be, you know, this magic destination. But I mean, we all know Madison Bumgarner. He took a discount. He was dying to come to Arizona.
Hold on. Were you not just here shopping for houses, Jesse Friedman? So I don't want to hear it from you, sir, because you've bought into this as much as the rest of these guys have. It's beautiful here. It's nice. All the extra flowers they bring here that shouldn't be here kind of mess up our allergies. But aside from that, It's a dry heat. We can all get air conditioning.
There were a lot of mosquitoes this year.
Hey, Evan Thompson.
What's up, Evan?
Sorry.
Were there not an excessive number of mosquitoes?
There were excessive amount of bugs, period. It sucked
Okay.
this year. Yeah, like I don't know. I thought it was just my house because I have 3 dogs, so we attract a lot of bugs. But you know, we had everything this year. We had like dragonfly infestation inside of our house. Who has dragonflies infest their house?
Inside of your house?
Yeah.
Oh my.
And they're so much worse than flies because they can kind of hover and go zigzag, and you can't really catch them or get them out.
They're
and
huge,
it's not
too, and they're noisy and man.
The AL and NL MVP awards were just announced, Jesse. They just came down. There are no surprises. Of course, I am here in my Shohei Ohtani shirt in celebration of him being the obvious MVP. I'm going to say it. He's the MVP of baseball, period, not just the American League. Just an incredible athlete, an incredible person. My favorite baseball player outside of guys on the Arizona Diamondbacks. So I love Ohtani and I love him. I think that he is the exact kind of thing.
He is hard not to love. I mean,
right? I mean, he's just he's a wonderful person. Like, I would love him even if he wasn't an offensive juggernaut and this great pitcher, right? I would love him just for the videos of his reaction that show up on MLB.com and whatnot. Those alone endear him to me. But the fact that he can go out there and play this game with childlike wonderment and be so goddamn good at it is amazing to me. And he's better than most people at both positions, which is just incredibly baffling how anybody can be that good.
It really is. I mean, what Ohtani has done, it's obviously well documented at this point, but it is unlike anything that we've ever seen in the game of baseball, right? I mean, we've seen some guys who did a little of both. You know, they were position players, they were pitchers, but they didn't normally do them at the same time, right? Like Babe Ruth was a pitcher,
and then he became
right, and then he converted.
See, even that always baffled me. Like, I never understood how someone like Babe Ruth could be a pitcher and then become one of the most elite legendary hitters in the history of the game. So and now seeing Ohtani, it's crazy because of course Babe Ruth is the only guy you can really compare him to, but seeing Ohtani, it's like, oh wow, this actually can happen. It didn't seem like it seemed like a tall tale, like Paul Bunyan having a blue ox and being 700 feet tall.
It's absurd. And I mean, it's not just his pitching and his hitting, it's also like his base running. Like, he stole 26 bases this season.
I know.
And it's like, what can't this? I mean, he had 46 home runs and his pitching numbers were good across the board. The strikeout numbers were through the roof. I just hope that people understand the greatness that is in front of them right now. I mean, Shohei Ohtani is a guy who is going to be here for, we hope he plays a long, successful career here in the majors. But once Shohei Ohtani is in the past, I mean, there is not, like, I don't know if we will ever see someone like this. Like, this is just not normal. And the way that he put it together this season, being able to stay healthy, first of all, having more than 500 at bats is crazy with how much pitching he did. And he just really put it all together this year in a way that he really never has before.
The NL MVP was Bryce Harper. And again, another non-surprise there with how Harper performed this year, really paying off for the Phillies after at times having some mediocre performances on this team, but going through some injuries and some other stuff. Harper looks to be 100% once again one of the best players in the league. I will say this though, it's interesting the way that things happen in baseball, because it seems like in other sports, to be the MVP, you have to have a bigger impact on your team winning. And it's not to say neither of these teams won, but neither of these teams made the playoffs, right? So it's like, it's interesting to me the way how in baseball they can assess the most valuable player being on a team in a different way than other sports can. And I think that's the case, because typically you're kind of making the sacrifice on a good team to spread it around a little bit more. And the better players in baseball kind of end up in the purgatory at times of being on a bad team that isn't going to be successful, but they themselves are outstanding.
Yeah, Bryce Harper this one was a little bit closer. I mean, Shohei Ohtani, I believe, was unanimous. Or near unanimous. Yeah, completely unanimous. So I mean, I think that was clear that Ohtani was going to win this. The National League was a lot dicier. It wasn't incredibly close in the voting, but it was reasonably close. With really a three-headed race as things turned out. It was Bryce Harper, Fernando Tatis, and Juan Soto. And they all kind of have their quirks here and there. And I think Bryce Harper just wound up being the most complete package out of everyone. With Juan Soto, there were a lot of questions. Like you just mentioned, Juan Soto played for a team that was not very good this last year. And a lot of people think that, a lot of his offensive value comes from how much he walks. And when you don't really have any other threats in the lineup, you can pretty easily view that as just like, okay, well, why would you want to face Juan Soto, right?
Right. If no one's going to hit him in, walk him every single time.
Right. And so he did have a lot of value for that reason. I personally don't really hold that against Juan Soto, and he might have been my pick in this award race. Fernando Tatis is interesting. Only about 130 games. I think that probably worked against him. Sure. Plus the dugout moment later in the season. Obviously, the Padres really couldn't have ended their season any worse. Yeah, the incident with Machado. And I think that was just a bad look for him. I really wonder how big of an impact that had in the minds of voters here, because it's just a bad look. Like, it's really hard to call a player who had that kind of interaction publicly with one of his teammates. It's hard to call a player like that the MVP, the most valuable player in the game. Like, are they really the most valuable if they're, at least in that moment, it kind of looked like a clubhouse cancer, right? And I don't want to say Tatis is necessarily that all the time, but that was a really, really bad look. And the fact that happened publicly probably is the reason, at least one of the reasons, why he didn't win this award.
I'm with you 100% on that, because I do believe that the MVP should be a leader on their team. I think that at times we've embraced a lot of the things that Fernando Tatis does that people at times have not approved of in the sport of baseball.
He's also not a very good shortstop. That's the other thing. People he makes flashy plays every now and then, but at the beginning of the year, Fernando Tatis was a disaster defensively. And now I think by the end he was maybe a little better, but he still is probably a below average defender over there.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. And again, that has to be a big part of it. I think there's only so many factors you can take into consideration, though, which is why I think that they can't really worry about the most valuable player being on a winning team. The Angels were not very good at all. And Ohtani at times was their biggest bright spot, right? So it's like you can't get too wrapped up in that when someone like him is as good as he was for this team this season.
You know who did get, I think it was 4 first place votes, was Brandon Crawford of the San Francisco Giants. And it's hard to disagree. Like, I don't really see the case for putting him first, but he definitely, he deserved a significant a number of votes, maybe in the like 4th, 5th place range. But the fact that Brandon Crawford is like in the top 5 of an MVP conversation is mind blowing for me at this stage in his career. Brandon Crawford, like a few years ago, was the defensive first shortstop. Like could kind of hit maybe around league average, right? Like this was an incredible turnaround for him. So I want to give him a shout out, even though, you know, he plays for a division rival and all of that stuff.
I don't like what you're doing one bit. I'm just going to be honest with you. How dare you?
He's not a Dodger, right? He's not a
Yeah.
Dodger. They're on two completely different levels. So.
Right. Well, it's almost baseball time again. It feels like, right? The Arizona Fall League is wrapping up soon. So soon enough, you'll be able to jump on the DraftKings Sportsbook app and bet for your next year World Series winner. But for now, get on there, bet on some NFL and some NBA. DraftKings Sportsbook app is the official sports betting partner of both the NFL and the NBA. And right now, with our code of PHNX, you can for $1 or more, you can bet whatever you want on it, honestly. But as long as it's $1 or more, you can bet on any team to score points. And if they do, you will get $100 in free bets. It's that simple. Go bet on an NBA game. Like I've told you guys, the most boring game still was 2-0. And it was Alabama high school game, but you know,
I don't know if that game was boring though. Like if it was,
you're a fan of defensive 2-0 basketball games.
I mean, it
Friedman? Get out of
depends.
here.
Like, what was the competition level of that game? Do you know any backstory on this game?
I do not, because it does not interest me at all to know the defensive they were high school players, so that's
I'm
the
just
most
saying,
I can give you.
if they're good high school players and the final score was 2-0.
No,
like they must like that defense.
No, you cannot defend this at all. I'm going to take you to our night court thing that we do about this. If you keep it up, I'll tell you that.
Okay.
Anyway, though, go bet on any of those and you'll get some points. Don't listen to Jesse. It's not exciting when they don't score.
You should still do it. I'm still on board with the betting side of things.
But yeah, go get some skin in the game with the same game parlay. I, of course, am Mr. Parlay. I'm not Jesse. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to acknowledge.
People don't even know what you're talking about.
I'm not going to acknowledge Patrick's amazing nickname. But anyway, I am Mr. Parlay, and I love same game parlays, multiple game parlays, multiple sport parlays. It doesn't matter. Get some skin in the game with a parlay. The more legs you add, the more money you can win. I have a 5-leg parlay going on tonight's Thursday night football game. And again, right now there's an offer to opt in on DraftKings Sportsbook app that you will get $25 in single game parlay insurance for betting on a game. So, hey, if your parlay doesn't work out, you'll get that money back in a free bet. So go on there, go to DraftKings Sportsbook, get some money, and have yourself a great holiday weekend. Get an extra big turkey next Thanksgiving. 21 and over only, Arizona only. Gambling problem, dial 1-800-NEXT-STEP. New customers only. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And Jesse, I will say this, that Shohei Ohtani is almost a superhuman when it comes to playing baseball, right? Like it doesn't seem like he is human. So it got me wondering about which members of our Arizona Diamondbacks team might also not be human. I don't know if you are familiar with the new Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, The Eternals.
I have not seen it. No.
The basic story of this, just to let you know, is Eternals are immortal, indestructible beings put here by aliens to preserve and safeguard the earth. And the best part about this is they're kind of like sleeper agents. They don't really know that they are this thing. They think they're just a normal human walking around doing regular human stuff. So on today's show, Jesse, we are going to uncover the truth about which members of the D-backs are actually D-Turnals.
Okay. Oh my gosh, that's an amazing graphic. Wow.
Yeah. We are talking D-Turnals. I see you back there. See, I don't know if that's Baxter back there in the back or if that is Eduardo Escobar wearing Baxter's head. I have no idea, but these are our D-Turnals. And on today's episode, Jesse, I want to know who you're suspicious of on the Arizona Diamondbacks of secretly being an immortal, indestructible being put here to preserve and protect the earth.
Oh, all right. So I have 4 of them. Do you want me to?
Give me one. Give me one at a time. Let's go.
Okay.
I want to hear reasons behind it.
Okay, so my first one that I'll start with is on the coaching side of things, Dave Mckay. one of the guys you just saw on your screen. Dave Mckay clearly can read people's minds. Like it's not a question at this point, right? I know he has tactics for, helping guys at first base steal second and get good reads, be able to read pickoffs and whatnot. He's too tall to be in Marvel.
He's not good logic. That's proper logic. He's right. It's actually
makes sense. It makes sense. But yeah, I don't know. I've kind of always suspected this, frankly, about Dave Mckay. So Dave Mckay. I think I picked Dave Mckay for my Snakes of Newark thing too.
We're gonna do that a lot because we have the same suspicions about these guys having multiple roles when it really comes to the way they act, right?
Right.
I like that because, and I don't mean to discredit or put down his injury because we were all concerned very much about him, but who knows? Maybe Dave Mckay was actually off fighting, some sort of superhuman
I think
to the
it's
earth
likely
during that time, and this was just a cover story, right?
Right, absolutely.
Very believable. All right, so in the same sense of you saying that you picked him for your Many Snakes of Newark team, I will say Madison Bumgarner is 100% a D-Turnal. He is 100% doing other things. Obviously, he's there's the whole thing about being not really knowing that you are one. I don't think that's the case with Madison Bumgarner. I think he's fully aware of what he's doing. He's an obvious alien that's here just trying to enjoy the planet in the time that he can, right? Like you said, he moved to Arizona. What? So he could calf rope and play professional baseball at the same time? Who does that? Who does that? Not a human, not a normal human being, only someone that would have multiple aliases. I mean, come on, we only know about these two. How many other aliases does he have? What does he do when he's not calf roping or playing professional baseball? That's the true question. I think the answer, obviously, saving the earth, Jesse.
I think it makes sense. I mean, and you make a good point. Like Mason Saunders is the only other name we know about.
That's the only one we know, right? And it took Zach Buchanan's excellent, investigative work to uncover that story. So we might not even know about Mason Saunders without, a journalist uncovering it, which is totally, again, a superhuman kind of thing for him to happen, right? We're seeing that with Peter Parker in the Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, there's probably at least half a dozen other ones that we just haven't found out about yet. So it's really only a matter of time. All right, my next one is Carson Kelly. And this one I have to admit, Derek, it comes with a bit of an asterisk because I'm particularly referring to Carson Kelly strictly when he's facing left-handed pitching. All right, when he's facing right-handed pitching, very, very mortal, very human, right? Strikes out kind of a lot. When he's facing left-handed pitching, though, I mean, this guy turns it on. I'll even throw some numbers at you here in my defense. All right, he hit 313 last year, slugged over 600. He hit more than twice as many home runs against left-handed pitching as he did against right-handed pitching in about half the number of plate appearances. So Carson Kelly against left-handed pitching, Derek, I don't know how we explain a mortal having that big of a split between their performance between, right-handers and left-handers on the mound. I think these platoon splits are clearly a sign of something bigger happening here.
I agree with you quite a bit. And I think that does look suspicious. Kind of along the same lines, I will say Ketel Marte has my suspicions, right?
Okay.
First, he had my curiosity, and now he has my attention. I say this because I don't understand how someone who blew out his hamstrings multiple times throughout the season still managed to hit nearly 320 in Major League Baseball.
He was very, very broken throughout a good portion of the season.
With a 909 OPS, right? With a 909 OPS. So what kind of normal human can have their body break down and still have a 909 OPS against Major League Baseball hitting or pitching? I don't believe it. Here's the other thing. His injuries, inexplicable, right? We blame it on what? Running down the first baseline, to first? Sure. Tell Marte? We blame it on him playing center field? No, sir. That's why whatever his power is, I assume it's like running fast. Like he's like the Flash. He just kind of tones it down when he's playing baseball. I feel like he has 2-3 other gears he could hit, but he chooses not to because that would expose him. Maybe he doesn't know he has those gears until, his Eternals clock, strikes and he becomes this
Sure.
earth-saving superhero. I don't know the answer to it, Jesse, but I know that he probably got those injuries in battle. That's all I can come up with.
Yeah. Well, he also generates an inhuman amount of bat speed for a man his size. So
There you go. There you
I
go.
will
He's probably
have to be on
probably
board
has
with
some
you
sort of
there.
weapon when he's fighting off, evil doers. I don't know what to call him. I don't want to judge aliens and say he's always fighting aliens, because I feel at times he might be fighting, normal humans that mutated or something, right? Like there's a lot of
Sure,
a
right.
lot of variables there. I don't want to classify. I'm just going to say bad guys. Like we'll just say bad guys.
All
Anyway,
right.
go ahead.
All right. My next one is Tyler Gilbert. For
Ah,
the obvious reason, we
yes.
all watched that no-hitter in his very first performance.
He
And there
screwed
was
up. He showed us his hand way too early.
there was just something about that day that still doesn't sit well with me
Mhm.
in terms of like, how on earth did Tyler Gilbert get this to happen? If you go back and look at the metrics from StatCast, really Baseball Savant is the website where you find this stuff. The Padres' expected batting average in that no-hitter was 242, which is very close to their normal batting average. So essentially, in terms of their batted ball contact that they made in that game, it was a completely average game for them. And yet Tyler Gilbert suspiciously threw a no-hitter. Something's up there, Derek. Something's up there.
Suspiciously. I agree with you 100%. I don't know what to think there. I really don't. But I will say this. I don't necessarily think it's always just the players, kind of like you went with Dave Mckay. After having Jeff Bannister on this show, I'm 100% convinced he's a celestial being. I don't know what about him. I don't know what his power is. I don't know if it's like a cult leader like draw. I don't know if he can read minds. I don't know what it is, Jesse. All I know is after spending 10 minutes speaking to him, I was ready to run through a wall for Jeff Bannister.
I think
I was
almost
ready.
became a celestial being after hearing from Jeff
Correct. I feel like I
Bannister.
ascended to a higher level
Yeah,
of understanding life after speaking with him. I can only imagine having him mentor me, right? Like that's an open offer. I don't have very much money, but we could talk about side gigs, Bannister, if you want to. But here's the thing. He is a different kind of person when it comes to a leader. And I think that is something that definitely is special about him, and it's something that's going to be a huge addition to this team, just like Strom and Joe Mather. It's going to be incredible. But I also think that he definitely has superhuman powers, 100%. There's not a doubt in my mind.
I'm with you there. Yeah, I kind of wondered the day that we did that interview. It seemed like something else was at play there.
Something was up, right? But
something was up for sure.
I'll tell you this much: you guys can be superhumans in mine and Jesse's eyes by becoming a member of the PHNX family over at gophnx.com. Again, we have some quality content coming up on the website. I'm going to have some more information on what Brent Strom had to say at his press conference, and Jesse has a piece coming up as well. So please join us and get all of this content. I did a movie review this week, folks. Go check that out. Let me know if it was any good. I don't know if if this is also part of my repertoire as mayor of PHNX, but it just might be if you guys enjoyed it. So check that out. Give me your feedback. I'm always open to that. But become a member while you're there. You can get the annual membership, obviously. That will give you the big discount on the month-to-month price, as well as a free t-shirt over at phnxlocker.com. And Leah, are you guys still have special offer over at Coyotes?
I think so.
So here's the thing. I'm not supposed to tell you guys, but I'm going to tell you anyway because I like you. Go over to PHNX_Suns or PHNX_Coyotes. And I tell you, they might sweeten the pot and make this a no-brainer deal for you guys to jump on board and become an annual member. Also, you can definitely, and Evan absolutely is a superhuman.
100%.
I've been suspicious of
you
that.
didn't even have to become a member in order to.
I know. Anybody that would write a book like that is a superhuman. So God bless you for putting that history together on the MLB playoffs, Evan. But you become an annual member or a month-to-month member. If you become the month-to-month member, you'll get your first month for 50 cents. And again, go check out phnxlocker.com. We have some amazing shirts. I own almost all of them. They're all great, and I hopefully you think so too. So they're very soft, which is one of my favorite things about t-shirts. But Jesse, I want to take a look at this D-Eternals graphic again because I just can't get over it. Let's take a look here.
It really is extraordinary.
We threw a couple other names out there that we didn't get to that I see on this list. Obviously, the big one being there, Zach Gallen, but most importantly, Torey Lovullo and Baxter back there in the back. I see them. This all makes a lot of sense. Zach Allen's boobs don't make a lot of sense, but everything else makes a lot of sense here. Baxter, I question because I don't know what Baxter's up to. I don't know. I don't like to reveal like looks behind the curtain, right? I don't want to say I may or may not have seen and talked to a person that might be the person that might be under the Baxter mask. I don't want to make those claims. I don't want to ruin the illusion, but that person might also know martial arts, and that person might also ride a motorcycle to and from his home at Chase Field when he's playing Baxter. So again, if you want to talk about people in this lineup right here that might be superhuman aliens that are here to protect the planet, yeah, Baxter's at the top of my list. I'm sorry. I don't know. I've seen what that guy
he rides a motorcycle with
he rides a motorcycle. Yeah, he has a badass jacket
with
helmet
the suit on. Like as Baxter.
That would be amazing. I hope he has a Baxter head-sized helmet that he wears when he rides. No, he doesn't ride it with the helmet on or mask on.
Could you imagine like cruising down I-10
down 7th Street? Baxter just cut you off on his motorcycle. Well, again, I talked about the dangers that a city bobcat faces, working for this team. So traffic is definitely one of them.
Sure.
Just a reminder again, guys, go over to DraftKings Sportsbook app, use our code of PHNX, and for betting $1 on any NBA or NFL team to score anything, you'll get $100 in free bets. So that's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer right there. Go do it if you're a new member. Also, we thank you guys so much for following us on social media and supporting the show. You can get Jesse and I at cap_caveman with a K. Jesse is at Jesse N. Friedman, but our show is at PHNX D-backs. All roads lead to PHNX sports, though. That is on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. So please do me a favor. Check out PHNX Locker. If you're not a member already, that right there, it's going to win you over. Like I said, get yourself a membership, give someone else the shirt, Christmas, that's done. Right? It's that easy. I'm telling them the Coyotes are in here right now looking at me, and I'm telling you, they want me out of here. But I'm telling you, go over to PHNX Coyotes, and they'll sweeten that deal. I didn't know Baxter wasn't real. Oh, man.
he is.
I don't even want to tell you about Howler, but we'll talk about that at a later time. Jesse, again, I thank you for figuring out which members of this team is actually lying to us about who they are, but I'm excited, and it's
really the hardest part of my job at PHNX.
I know.
I mean, pinpointing who is a celestial. I mean, that is on a high. It's a pretty high pay grade that you have to be on.
You took it incredibly serious. I can't believe the amount of spreadsheets you sent me about this. I was like, it's a 10-minute segment, Jesse. Calm down. But anyway,
oh no, there always has to be spreadsheets.
It's the prep work. That's why, again, you're my vice mayor, and I appreciate it. So, and we appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much again for watching the show. On behalf of Jesse and myself, we thank you. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when you bet on it.